my pleasure now to introduce our speaker. And Paul Cameron has been a friend of this ministry for a number of years. He has helped us with a number of things. He regularly announces our meetings and our other activities on the radio. He has just been a real supporter, and we really appreciate it. Paul is an executive headhunter for the technical industry, and that's by profession. He is currently the 2009 president of the Illinois Search and Staffing Association and is a regular co-host of the talk show, radio show, Job Talk, on WJJG in Chicago. It's on Thursday afternoons, correct? From 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. He is a public speaker and trainer, the author of Turning Interviews into Offers Through Advanced Selling Techniques, and he is the founder of the Chicago Technology Network. We have known each other for quite a while. We appreciate all of his support, and the subject matter that he is going to be talking about today, staying positive in a negative world, is certainly something that we all need to think about and to hear about. So with that, I'd like to introduce our good friend, Paul Cameron, President and Senior Technology Manager.
Well, first I want to say thanks to Bob and everybody from St. Hubert's for the opportunity to come out here and talk about this. I've been doing presentations every month for probably 7 years-ish or so. So I know I've known Bob at least all that time. And it's always about interviewing or how to get interviews or how to write resumes or something specific to the job search. And every one of those presentations I always start out with some little segment on attitude, because really that's the most important, most attractive attribute you have as a job seeker is your attitude. And I'm always wishing, I wish I could just do a whole presentation on attitude. And Bob called me back in January for this presentation tonight and told me what the topic was, and I couldn't say yes fast enough to come out here and talk about this. So thank you guys for the opportunity to come out. So we're going to talk about staying positive in a negative world. And I want to start by giving you a very powerful piece of information. Good friend of mine, Valencia Ray, Dr. Valencia Ray, I met through a Toastmasters networking meeting a while back. She is a doctor who specifically studies how the mind affects the well-being of the body. And in one sentence, she completely changed my entire outlook on how I approach things in life. And I want to share that one sentence here with you because hopefully it's going to do the same for you. She told me that stress begins with thoughts. And thoughts are controllable. Again, stress begins with thoughts, and thoughts are controllable. But the part where we start to lose control a little bit is when we have those thoughts over and over and over again, and then we attach actions to those specific thoughts, and then they become what she called unconscious thoughts, right? Like, for example, you remember when you first learned to drive a car, right? First time you're getting in the car for the very first time, your hands are at 10 and 2, and you put the seatbelt on, and you check the mirrors, and you're paying attention to everything, right? You're just on high alert. Your senses are on high alert. Your problem-solving skills are fully engaged. You're ready to figure out how to drive that car. And then you get in the car and you do it again. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and again, and again, and before you know it, you don't have to think about it anymore, right? Hopefully you're not doing all of that, but the idea is you don't have to think about it. You just get in and you do it. You know, when you came over here tonight, you probably didn't think, all right, I got to check my mirrors and I got to put my seatbelt on. You just did it, right? You were thinking about, I'm missing Monday Night Football for this guy better know what he's talking about. All right? After a consistent repetition, a habit is created and the actions become unconscious, right? So now today's society, the media is just constantly telling us how horrible life is. If you're listening to the news on a daily basis, you're just constantly hearing this is bad and that's bad, and you're not getting the entire story from the media. For example, the stock market, right? The stock market is, it's in peril. Everything's awful with the stock market. It's up, it's down. Watching the news not too long ago, the stock market went up by 100 points. Right? And the newscaster, with 5 minutes left in the broadcast, casually mentions, in the stock market today, the Dow looks like it was up about 103 points, and in other news, we blah, 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 blah. The next day, the stock market loses 100 points, the same 100 points it just lost the day before, that same newscaster opens the broadcast up with another dismal, dour, devastating day on Wall Street. The Dow loses triple digits. And I'm waiting for the dun-dun-dun, you know, behind the whole thing. I mean, come on, it's the same 100 points we just lost the day before, but that's news because it's negative information. What they don't tell you about is that as of right now, we're about 2,800 points up from where the bottom was just earlier this year. We're not talking about that on a daily basis. If we were down 2,800 points, you better believe we'd be hearing that every 10 minutes on the news, but we're up, so we skip over that.
Bad news sells. Good news sells.
Exactly right. It gives you a reason to keep watching. Bad news sells and good news doesn't. That's right. So as far as the job market, in January, we lost 795,000 jobs, the worst since the Great Depression. Okay, dun, dun, dun. You know, not to mention the fact that the Great Depression 1929, there were nowhere near as many people in the world as there are now, and much less, you know, the whole economy's the scale. Let's put that aside. But what they didn't talk about, and you heard this literally the morning broadcast, the midday news, as soon as you got home, you heard it all the time. What they didn't tell you about is in that same month, 1.3 million jobs were filled. We're not going to talk about that because that's good news. The unemployment rate, back in June, unemployment rate jumped to 9.5. Jumped is the word that they used, from 9.4. Well, this is a monumental vertical leap, isn't it? But people don't think about the numbers. They just hear unemployment jump, that's bad. 795,000 jobs, bad. And it's just, it gets us in a very paranoid state, and it gets us thinking that we can't get things done. So now, when life presents us with a challenge, the media says, no, you can't do it. Can't do that at all, no way. And then your mind says, yeah, you know what, you're right, yeah, I can't do that. And then you don't do that. And then your mind says, well, see, told you couldn't do that. Enter anxiety, depression, stress, right? And then you're met with another challenge. And the media says you can't do it. And then your mind says, yeah, you're right, I can't do that. And then you don't do that, and your mind says, see, I told you you couldn't do that. Stress, and it happens over and over and over again. And before you know it, after that repetition, in comes a challenge. Immediately we're thinking stress, right? Well, today is when we're going to overcome that. I'm skipping through, not watching what I'm doing up here. Today is where we're going to start to change that pattern. To change the pattern, you simply must change your mind. All the thoughts that are going through your mind, it's just like watching TV, right? And you're holding the remote. It's totally up to you what you watch. Just change the channel. Think about something else. Like right now, you could be totally tuned in to what I'm saying. Or you could be thinking about, I wonder who's winning the game right now. Or you could be thinking about what color shoelaces you want to buy in your next pair of shoes. You can be thinking about anything you want to think about. Is totally your choice. So as those negative challenges start coming into your mind, just change the channel. Fair enough? So here's the 3 channels I am hoping that you will tune into here this evening. First, feeding your attitude on a daily basis. Understanding the reasons for your circumstances. And then I want to give you some specific tools that you can take with you tonight that you can start using tomorrow that will help affect your attitude on a daily basis. So you can combat this through a very vigorous, difficult job search. Okay, so let's start with feeding your attitude. And I use the picture of the 2 wolves here because there's a very famous, I don't know what you would call it, a parable. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. Very popular in the Native American culture, where there is an old grandfather talking to his grandson about these 2 wolves that are fighting in his head, in the grandson's head. One of the wolves represents happiness and joy, and the other wolf represents bitterness and anger, right? And they're fighting, and the grandson looks up and says, "Grandfather, which one's going to win?" And the wise old grandfather says, "Whichever one you feed," which is one of my most favorite parables because it is so true. So we're going to talk about how to feed a positive attitude here tonight. So first, what I would recommend is trying to limit the news intake on a daily basis. A lot of people, you get up, the first thing you do is you flip on the news. You open the paper, you start reading the news. Maybe at lunch, the news is going in the lunchroom, or you flip on the news during your search for the midday news. You get home, first thing you do, pop on the news. And it's just this bad news and bad news and bad news that's just pounding you over the head. And when I ask a lot of people, why do you do that? Why do you keep flipping this on? It's like, well, I want to be informed. Is what most people will come back. I need to know what's going on. Okay, well, what do you need to be informed about? What specifically are you tuning into to be informed about? Well, world affairs. I need to know what happened today so that I can speak intelligently about what's going on. Okay, so you don't really have a plan going in. What I would challenge you to do is to pick one broadcast, pick one news source. Either you're going to watch it in the morning, you're going to watch it at noon, you're going to watch it at night, or you're going to read the paper, which is the best of all, and go into it with a plan. I'm going into this to find out what the top headlines are. I need to know what happened in the stock market. I need to know that the Bears won. I need to know whatever it is you need to find out for that day. And as soon as you get the information that you need, turn it off. Right, you got your information, stop bombarding yourself with that terrible news because they are skewing it to make you paranoid, to make you scared of what's going on, so you have to keep listening. Right? So I would challenge you to try to limit your news intake. And for every minute that you spend watching the news, intentionally intake some positive motivational information. Now, I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar. I don't know if there's any salespeople in here who know who that guy is. But he has coined a phrase a long time ago that he used to attend Automobile University, where every time he was commuting someplace, he would have some sort of a piece of motivational something going on in his car, or some sort of something where he'd be learning from as he's going. For every minute that you're taking in news, you need to counteract that with something positive. And for years and years, and I know I've preached this here at this club before, make sure you get out to a bookstore and buy some motivational stuff so you can listen to it, or buy a book, or buy this. And just recently, a couple of months ago, I'm going to make myself look kind of silly here, but in Lombard, I personally live in Lombard, and I know they have one of these here in Lombard. I hear that they have them elsewhere, but I know they have one in Lombard. They have these places that are called libraries. They have all these books in there, and they're free, and they have audio programs, and they have all this stuff, but I've spent so much money on all this stuff at the bookstore over the years. Just go to the library, it's free. Just go get something else, and then you can keep exchanging them. It's wonderful. So just go in there, grab what you need, and just constantly be feeding your attitude, because I promise you it's going to help you. So the other thing you want to pay attention to is the information that you're spreading. In your conversations, are you watching the news specifically so that you can retell the bad stories from that day, so you can repeat the awful thing that happened? Wow, did you see that we lost 795,000 jobs today? Oh, it's awful. And the unemployment rate, I heard it jumped today. Oh, it's awful. And you're out there spreading bad news, or are you spreading the good news? Hey, did you hear? They filled 1.3 million jobs today. That's great news. You know what? The unemployment rate right now, yeah, it's higher than it has been in a while, but boy, 82, the unemployment rate was, 12.8. Luckily, we're nowhere near that. In the Great Depression, everybody keeps comparing this to, the unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 24%. Wow. This isn't anywhere near as bad as the media seems to be exaggerating this to be. What kind of news are you spreading? And to whom are you spreading it to? One thing that's very, very important is who you're surrounding yourself with. Because there are a lot of people who want to talk about the negatives in the world, and there's a lot of people who do want to focus on the positives. Right? Who's around you? What kind of news are they spreading? That's important that you pay attention to that, because that will literally affect your state of mind and how you present yourself in your interviews. The other thing I just want to point out, and hopefully get you to think about, is what will you gain from your comments? And the reason I ask this question, and I know at least in my life, I put out a newsletter once a month. I try to keep it very positive. It has like market information, job market information, job hunting tips and techniques, and our open positions and that kind of thing. And I always try to keep it very positive, but on a consistent basis, I will always get at least one person who will send me an email afterwards in response where it was obvious they took a whole afternoon doing some research, crafting this big, long, well-written email about why the market is terrible, why right now is a terrible time to find a job. This person spent an afternoon crafting this email. They researched articles to prove to me that the market is bad. See, look, this company cut 10,000 jobs, and this company's down. Look at the unemployment rate. This is bad, and this is awful, and you can't argue with this. It's a black and white ball. So they took their afternoon to do that. Let's say hypothetically, they convinced me, right? They won the argument, and I said, oh, yeah, you know what? You're totally right. It's awful out there. I mean, it is. Oh, my goodness, what am I doing? Telling people that there's hope. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to stop that right now, and I'm just going to, I'm going to complain a little more. Okay, congratulations, you've won the argument. You have now stopped me from being positive. What do you get back for that? What's the reward for bringing me down?
Misery loves company.
Well, misery, okay, great. So now there's two of us that's miserable. Okay. But you know what? That's the only reward. Okay, so now you've got a friend who's equally miserable, and you're surrounding yourself with one more miserable person. There's no reward to that. You've just lost your afternoon convincing somebody that life is bad, and you get nothing from it. So, yes.
I was going to say, if you do get any good feeling out of winning the argument, it's very selfish and limited versus what you could spread with the good news.
Right. Yeah, and you need to think about that in really in every conversation that you have. If I win this argument that I'm in right now, what am I going to get?
And it's only temporary.
And it's only I'm going to get a good feeling because I won this wonderful argument right here, but I get nothing tangible from that. Versus if I spent this time that I'm arguing right now doing my job search, or I spent this time listening to some positive information or doing some research on something, now I'm going to get something tangible from that. So you really want to pay attention to what do I get from these arguments that I'm in and what I'm doing. You want to always keep in mind that every conversation you're in leaves the other person with three options every single time. Either one, they can say nothing because the conversation wasn't very memorable, or two, they will tell all their friends about the wonderful experience that they had with you, or three, they'll tell all their friends about the negative experience that they had with you. One of those three things is going to happen. And if you go into every conversation with that in mind, you're going to find yourself staying a lot more positive, trying to influence people for the better, trying to make their day better so that you do have a positive effect on their life. So what I do want to talk about now is understanding the reasons for your circumstances. Now, I've been a public speaker for a whole lot of years, and I've coached a lot of people on public speaking, and there is one cardinal rule that you really want to abide by when you're speaking, and you want to avoid two different topics. One is politics, and the other is religion. But my thinking is, we're in a church right now. We open with a prayer. I'm going to take a gamble here and have a little theological discussion, if you don't mind, because I do have some very strong personal views about it. In my opinion, things happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. In the Bible, God says that all things are working together for the good of those who love the Lord. All things, not just some of the things, not the good breaks, all things, even the bad breaks. You need to keep in mind that everything that is happening to you is happening not to you, but for you. And if you keep that in mind, you're going to have a much better outlook on things. I'll tell you, when I was 19 years old, I was in college. I was a football player in college, had a pretty good life going. I had a very cool truck. That was my truck. I love that truck. Everything was going really well. And over Easter break, my roommate was on the wrestling team, so we're both college athletes. We weren't real big drinkers or anything. We just went out one night on a double date and dropped the girls off, and we were driving home. It was probably 12 or 1 in the morning, along those lines. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. If anybody knows Jerseyville, Illinois, nowhere, right? There's a little 2-lane highway. The chances of anybody else being out on this road were slim to none, and Slim just left the room. You know what I mean? And we're driving along, and we came to the base of the hill, and over the top of this hill The exact moment we got there, a drunk driver came across the top of the hill on our side of the road and hit us driver's side to driver's side. We were both going about 80 miles an hour. Nobody was wearing the seatbelts. Immediately after that, as luck would have it, another car came down the road with somebody who had a kind enough heart to stop and was big enough to pull my football playing body out of that truck. Was stopped, takes me out of the truck, lays me on the other side of the road, and boom, my truck explodes behind it. This is my truck afterwards. My parents got a call, said that I probably would not live through the evening, but if I did, at best, I would be able to feed myself. But I likely wouldn't make it through the evening. Well, through a lot of prayers and a lot of support from my family, good team of doctors, I'm here almost 100%. And when it was all said and done, I had blown out both of my knees and broke my leg in 7 places and broke my jaw into 7 pieces, cracked the back of my skull, and I actually flatlined twice. Now, how is that working for my good? How is that a positive thing happening for me?
Your will to live.
My will to live came a lot from my family and my friends who were there praying for me. But it took me a long time to figure out, why is this going on? I don't understand. And shortly after, once I had learned how to walk again, I was given an opportunity to give a presentation at my old high school. I went to Naperville North High School. About 2,700 students in the class, in the whole school. And I gave this presentation about 45 minutes, and by the end of it, of telling everybody how their decisions to drink and drive really affect other people who have nothing to do with drinking and driving, and how dangerous that can be. It was a wonderful experience. Got a standing ovation. People were crying. It was very powerful, very, very impactful. And as a result, I got to speak over at Naperville Central. And then I got to go speak over at Waubonsie. And I got to speak at another place and another place and another place. And I quickly realized I love speaking in front of people. It was fantastic. Getting to help people by standing in a crowd and giving a presentation, this is like my all-time favorite thing to do. And because of this, I know that. So as a result of that crash, I was able to educate thousands of kids. I learned that I love public speaking. I now give a volunteer presentation at job clubs around the Chicagoland area every single month. And I'm here tonight because I went through all that. Everything happens for a reason. There's probably a good reason that you're here tonight also. And I hope to give you some valuable information to make that worth your while. So you need to understand all of your situations that you're going through are happening for you. And I personally know that any tough situation that I ever go through, I know that I'm being set up for something better later. And if you go into everything with that sort of mindset, knowing that you can trust God to take you there, you're going to be on a much better state. So I want to give you some tools to take with you here tonight on a much lighter note. Daily affirmations. Now, daily affirmations, I'm sure you've heard of doing this before, where you're going to speak positive words over your day, and you're going to do it first thing in the morning. And it comes from that whole line of books and theories and thoughts like The Secret that are out there. And they say if you speak these wonderful words, the universe is going to hear you, and all these things are going to come to you. Yes and no. The thing is, with positive affirmations, it helps you stay focused on your goals. It helps you understand in the forefront of your mind what you're trying to go after. Have you ever noticed when you first buy a car, or you first decide that you're going to buy a specific type of car, all of a sudden you see them everywhere, right? You see that particular kind of car everywhere you're driving. Now, everybody didn't go out and just buy that kind of car because you're thinking about it. It's just that now that you're thinking about that at the forefront of your mind, now you're seeing them everywhere, right? Same thing with positive affirmations. As you start talking about your goals on a daily basis and getting up and establishing what those goals are first thing in the morning, now all of a sudden when opportunities arise, you're going to see them. That's how it's coming to you, is these people, they keep saying it over and over again. The universe isn't bringing it to them. They're seeing it more so they can go after it, right? Plus, if you do this first thing when you get up, you're setting the tone for your day. If you don't set the tone for your day, someone else is going to set the tone for your day for you. every time. I'll share with you every single morning that I get to the office. I'm probably giving you too much information at this point, but I'll get there, and I'll be grateful. First off, being the president of Drive Staff, and I'm going to try to paraphrase this down as much as I can, but I say this every single morning, that the president of Drive Staff Incorporated, and the Lord is with me today. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. Great things are happening at Drive Staff. We're making placements daily. We're doing it ethically. We're going to make every call and take every call with enthusiasm, positive enthusiasm. I'm going to give everyone my very best effort today, and I'm ready to have a productive day with God's guidance. Every morning I say that, but probably twice as long. But it puts me in the right frame of mind, and I promise that will help you as well. Gratitude lists. This is a wonderful tool. Every morning when you get up, grab just a small piece of paper of some sort. I use a sheet of paper about this size. It is a full sheet of paper that I cut into 4 pieces. Very technical. But what I do, at the top of the list, I'll write my gratitude list. And as good things are happening to me throughout the day, I'm going to jot them down. Just a quick note as a reminder, hey, this thing happened to me. It was great. I got a compliment earlier today about how my desk was organized. The fact that I get to come out here and do this presentation, obviously, is a great benefit to me. And a personal situation where a family member, medical situation, turned out exactly the way that we hoped. And it's just some other stuff that I've got listed here. And at the end of the day, you ever notice at the end of the day, you start thinking back, how did my day go today? And you always seem to pick out the negative stuff, right? How this went wrong, and that went wrong, and this other thing went wrong. I'm reviewing my gratitude list from the day. This was right, and this was great, and this happened well, and this other thing happened good. And then I go to bed in a positive frame of mind. I can get up in a positive frame of mind, and I'm starting out on a much better cycle versus going to bed upset and disappointed about the day. I'm going to start out in a much more positive frame of mind. And also, as you start thinking about this, think about other people having their gratitude list and see if you can find a way to get on theirs. Try to lift somebody else up as best you can. Compliment them in some way that you wouldn't ordinarily do, and get on their list. The other thing is the lifetime list. I have a notebook where everything that's major, that's positive, that's happened, I'll write down in there. So if I'm having a really bad day, for whatever reason, I can just go back and say, you know what, I am good at this job because of this, this, and this. You know what, I can do this because of this, this, and this. And it's a great reminder, because at those times when you're really feeling down, and oh my goodness, nobody's calling me back, nobody is taking me for an interview, nobody is, you're really having an awful day, you refer back, you know what, this is a fluke today. This stuff keeps happening to me. And that will put you in the right frame of mind more often than not. The friendships that you've developed over the years, the fact that these people are friends with you, you will provide value to them, or they wouldn't be your friends, quite frankly. So if you've got a good system of, a good group of friends that you've developed, that's a positive thing that you're putting on your list as well. So a little bit more practical in the daily job search, putting together a job search plan. And the key is you don't want to wing this. If you've got specific activities that you do every day with your job search, right? You're on the internet for an hour to look for new openings. You're sending your resume for an hour. You are calling every single resume, every single company that you sent a resume to follow up, that you're in the right place and going to the right person. All of these things, every day you're doing the same thing. I'm going to go to 2 networking events this week. What I would recommend is you print this sheet out, put them all on a sheet of paper, print out 20 of them for the month, put a little W or a little L next to them. I'm a very sports-minded person. And I love sports because you can always definitively tell how you're doing in sports. Like Lovie Smith, we know, had a good year last year because they had 9 wins and 7 losses. That was his record, 9 and 7. The year before, we know that he had a terrible record because he won 7 and 9. He had 7 wins and 9 losses. The year before that, we know he had a great year because he went 13 and 3. Very definitive, we can point to a record, right? If you've got a list of things that have to get done every single day, and you, let's say, hour on the internet, and you do it. You spend an hour on the internet looking for those jobs, circle that W. That's a win. Let's say you're going to call every single company that you sent the resume to. You didn't do it. You called some of them, you didn't call them all. That's an L. Let's say you wanted to make sure you got to 2 networking events this week. And you went to 2 networking events this week. That's a win, right? Now at the end of the day or the end of the week, it's not, hey, how was your week this week? Oh, it was pretty good. I got some good things done. No, I went 10-0. I had a great week. You know what? It wasn't so good. I went 4-6. Not so good. But you know what? When you went 4-6, you know exactly which items, which games you lost. So you know where to improve the next day. It absolutely quantifies where you need to get better and what you're doing right. And the best thing about this is if you do it on a daily basis, at the end of the day, let's say I went 10-0 today. At the end of the day, when I'm sitting there watching TV, and I typically would have that voice in my ear going, you should be on the internet looking for more jobs. What are you doing? You're losing time. And you feel guilty because you're not in your job search. You can say, you know what? Quiet. I went 10-0 today. And if I do that tomorrow and the next day, something good is going to come of it because I'm doing the right things every day. That will eliminate so much stress, so much anxiety. I can't even describe to you, especially in sales. I'm in 100% commission sales. For the longest time, my first several years in this business, I was constantly at home going, oh, I need to look for more people. I got to look for more job leads. I got to do this. And I set this exact system up. I set up a system of 18 games every day that I had to win. And if I went 18-0, I did not feel guilty at all when I went home that night. That will help you out tremendously. So go into it with a plan and track your weekly record. And lastly, you really want to pay attention to time. If you really think about your day and what you're doing throughout your day, you can get so much more accomplished. Did you know if you just saved 12 minutes a day, let's say you were able to just listen to some positive motivational information for 12 minutes a day for 5 days a week. At the end of the year, you're going to have 50 hours, a full work week and then some, of that positive information. Job seekers, you don't want to be in a job search for a full year, okay. Well, 1 hour a day. Get an extra hour a day of productive time in your job search. That's 20 extra hours that I promise you the other job seekers are not doing. Everyone in this room, I doubt everyone in this room is going to do it, and you're getting the information. You know, I'll share with you some additional information just to give you an idea of some of the job seekers that you're up against right now. I had a need for an administrative assistant very recently. As of last week, I needed an administrative assistant. I posted an ad. I got 394 resumes for it. Oh my goodness, that's awful news. Oh, but you know what? I had to delete 70% of them. 70% because either one, they just sent me an email with just the resume attached. That was it. Nothing in the body, nothing. That could be a virus. I deleted those. I didn't know. There was a good portion of them that would just say resume attached. Resume's attached. Send it off. No information as far as, hey, this is why I'm interested in the job, or this is why I'm applying to the job. A huge percentage of them had typos all over the resumes, or they misspelled the word administrative assistant. I have 394 resumes. Only 32 of them were addressed to me, and my name was in the ad, and only 7 people called. And I asked, please call.
Wow.
So, if you see an ad out there, yeah, a lot of people are responding, but a lot of really not so good job seekers, is the best way I could put that, are applying. And I apologize if I've insulted anyone in here who maybe that's the way you're sending your resumes out, but hopefully, you know, pick up on this and take it and run. You're going to get more of a response if you tailor this stuff and you get more production out of what you're doing. So, and that's going to be by taking an extra hour a day towards your job search, by taking those extra steps, put the person's name in there. So, staying positive in the negative world. You want to feed your attitude daily. You want to understand that all things are happening for your good. They're happening for you, not to you. Thoughts are controllable. You want to change your circumstances, simply change your mind. And attack every day with a plan. Trust it and watch your stress disappear. This is, I can't stress to you enough how important your attitude is in your job search. Of the people that I did call in that job search, so many people answered the phone. Yeah. This is Paul, you sent a resume over to Drive Staff for our administrative assistant. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is the administrative assistant position, I'm sorry. This is like customer service friendly, somebody's friendly on the phone. Okay, I think I've got the wrong number. All right, and I know too many stories to get into, but it's all about attitude. If you pick up that phone in a pleasant manner and you're happy to talk to people, man, I was excited to talk to those people. Here's my contact information. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I will always connect with anybody on LinkedIn. Send me an invite. I have over 2,600 connections. You will see all of my contacts. A lot of my contacts are hiring managers, and we just got to wear it. Hint, nudge, nudge. I'm on Twitter, posting job search tips on a daily basis. If you're in technology or you're looking for people, please connect with me. If you are not in technology and you're looking for a good recruiter, go to the Illinois Search and Staffing Association. That is the state association for our industry. Their website is issaworks.com. Look for their membership directory, and on that membership directory, you're going to see a list of recruiters there. In order to become a member, you have to agree to abide by a certain code of ethics. That is a quality list of recruiters that are listed on that page. I highly recommend you do. So thank you all very much for your time and listening.